Hello and welcome to the show. I am here today on BeamNG Drive, taking a look at a mod. I was having a flick through the repo and found one that was called Endurance Island. Yes, this is a kind of driven till destruction style of circuit, so we're going to give it a little bit of a test with a variety of cars and see what happens. We're starting with the place I like to always start, really, when I do these kind of things, with a Covet. This is a sort of mid-ish spec Covet. It's front-wheel drive. It's not the slowest car in the world, but you know, it's not a vehicle that you would necessarily expect to do particularly well. Now the rules, whenever I do one of these, look, I could drive very slowly and keep the car alive indefinitely. The rules are always the same. I've got to try to drive them as fast as possible. While still maintaining control of them, so we can't just bury the throttle. Where are we going up here? That's a big jump. That's actually quite a nasty jump there. Now, I have had a couple of little test runs around here. One of the things that we might see is beaching of the vehicles. Now, I am going to allow node grabbing. That's a horrible bump there. Some of these series I haven't. Vehicles can go out. If the chassis is so bent that the vehicle is getting beached on everything, that'll probably be a failure. But if it's just a sort of a one-off moment, then, you know, that's a more horrible jump than I was expecting. But yeah, I don't want to just punish every vehicle just because it's low to begin with, so to speak. Where am I going? It's over this way. Does it have a couple of alternate routes? Can I get over this? We can, with a bit of throttle and hope for the best, sort of a thing. The radiator's gone in this car. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm feeling like this is going to be a suspension killer. I feel it's going to be sort of a steering / suspension killer. Potentially even more, like that sort of stuff. That might just knock the engine out completely. There is a big puddle to drive through there that I guess can help cool overheating cars. That's the end of the lap right there. So that is a lap around here. We've still got enough steering. And of course, the other rule, if you haven't seen one of these, it's been quite a while actually since I've done one of these. I'm not allowed to grab a reverse to get a car around a corner. Now, it's not to say I'm not allowed to grab reverse ever if I overshoot a corner, miss a braking point or something. That's fine. But if my vehicle is physically unable to steer around the course, then, you know, it's counted out. This is a lot of punishment for a front-wheel drive vehicle to be taking. That's a big jump. That is actually, I think, one of the scarier obstacles on the course. It's kind of like a bit of a kicker jump. It really chucks the car quite high up in the air to come down very heavily on the nose. And the fact that that's only punctured a tyre, I am remarkably impressed with. That's that. I don't think the Covet can go as a one-wheel drive, can it? Nope. We are going to be parked on the bridge with no more drive left in the vehicle. That is the end of that. Okay, well, I was thinking it was going to be a sort of steering suspension killer. It is the drive shaft. I guess not the most unusual thing. Yes, it's all of these horrible, nasty little sort of logs on some of the landing zones and edges that you can catch. Yeah, I mean, the Covet survived a lap and a half, basically, around here. Not a big surprise at all, though, to see that it would be the drive shaft, the front half shaft, that would go. Up next, we have got a Moonhawk. Rear-wheel drive, much older suspension on this car, can be good. The old wobblematic suspension, as I like to call it, might be good for cushioning some of the bumps here. Concerns? Drive shaft. Massive concerns here for the Moonhawk, and probably for anything like this that is front engine rear-wheel drive, especially the bigger cars with long drive shafts. As we saw, cap's got off immediately. But as we saw with the Covet, these landings are pretty harsh. There's a lot of little bumps and ruts and so on that are going to catch an unsuspecting vehicle, and I feel like it's going to kill the drive shaft of the Moonhawk. This bit here is actually, so it's a little bit nasty to set it up for. That's, you know what, I don't actually know if you want to be slow over there. So if you're slow over there, you actually land and then immediately hit a log. If you're fast over there, when you just hit the ground quite hard, don't think there's a good way to do that unless you have like a trophy truck. Whoa, that's not set up correctly there at all. I could tell that one was going wrong immediately. Nothing I could do about it. Oh no, oil pan's gone. Covet survived without the oil pan going. Now, because this is one of the difficulties, one of the problems with any driven till destruction circuit. Full stop. With the oil pan damage being a thing, is how do you have a circuit that is tough enough to kill cars that doesn't just kill all of them by oil pan damage? It is a real issue. That, as far as I'm aware, I haven't checked yet. There isn't a mod that can turn that off. Because while, yeah, sure, in reality, yeah, you absolutely would lose the oil pans on the cars and whatnot, it does slightly ruin the fun of this as a challenge. Oh, please get the corner. The water here, does it save us some temperature? I mean, it can save us overheating. I don't think it's going to save the engine from seizing necessarily. So will something break on the Moonhawk before it runs out of oil? This is possibly the sort of course. It's not a particularly high-speed course, although it does mean we spend a lot of time in low gears, potentially working the engine a little bit harder. Now, get the car settled for this jump. Oh, that's a twist. Oh, never mind. That's a twist, and this one's lost a drive shaft too. You know, I didn't think that hit was going to be the sort that killed the drive shaft. If I'm honest with you, that felt more like it might bend the steering, but I guess the shock through the car was enough to pop the drive shaft. And well, the Moonhawk did not survive as long as the Covet. That surprises me, actually. I was expecting a bit more from the Moonhawk. I mean, I was concerned about it, and rightfully so. It actually ended up looking, I mean, it's not exactly, it does look a bit sad, but it's by no means the worst conditioned car that has failed one of these. And next vehicle is something a little bit different. We've got an electric Chariot. It's kind of like a mid-range one. So it's not ridiculously fast. It doesn't have the issues of overheating and oil. While, of course, yes, you do need cooling, overheating of batteries and so on is a real thing. I don't think that is something that can really happen in Beam. So that's not going to be a problem with this. The downsides for this are the weight. It's quite heavy, which means there's a lot of force crashing down on the suspension. The other thing is very odd to drive. I've not noticed this before, but it has been a while, and this is not a vehicle I've ever really played around with. Oh, that's going to be a front flip. Oh, yep, that was one of the concerns. The rear wheel is now at a funny angle. Is this only two-wheel drive? I thought this was an all-wheel drive thing. It is two-wheel drive now. What we call? I think the bumper is wedged on the log, so we're allowed to free debris if that has got snagged. Sometimes pulling debris away from the car is actually more dangerous. You kind of do more damage, but yeah, that was just stopping us from driving. The differential in this is just non-existent. We can clearly make that corner. I don't actually know whether I think we'll just beach ourselves, so we'll keep going. I was about to say this has got very strange braking, and I think this would be a thing with real electric cars. I've not actually driven one. Basically, when I let off the throttle, it is braking. So I'm presuming that's the regenerative braking. The game is actually simulating that. So I probably wouldn't really need to actually touch the brake around for a lot of this. You just sort of lift and let it do its thing. It's quite cool to see it simulated, actually, in the game. It's been so long, so I don't really drive these very often, the electric cars. Oh, it's just going to be a completely different sort of driving. Oh, that's a bump. I think we are beached on that. Now, we can probably free ourselves a little bit. I don't actually know what we are caught on. Okay, I don't think this is going to last long for this world at the rate it is going. it's it's having problems immediately. This was not the way to go for this course. Yeah, that rear suspension's now got even worse than it was. It was fine when it was propping the car up. It's now sunk down, and I think the other side is going to go. And that, I would imagine, is to do with the huge amount of, what to say huge, but the extra weight. Oh, the whole rear suspension is now collapsed. I think we are going to have problems now with this vehicle driving it any further. We're going to give it a chance. But it's spun on the landing, so let's give it an actual run up here and see what it can do. As soon as the front goes, as soon as the front corner goes, I think that is game over. The front left is looking particularly weak at the moment, although neither side looks great. So we're going to have to keep momentum up with this vehicle. It's going to get over these obstacles. It's just going to need a little bit of momentum to do it. Right, clonk our way through there. Climb, 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 climb. All is good. The back of the car is a complete write-off. Oh, that's a big clonk. Oh, that's a rock. Not a rock, that's a log. To spin ourselves on. Oh, okay, now, we have still got steering in this. It hasn't got great steering lock, but it's still got the steering to get us around. Through the water we go. Don't need to... Well, we're not... Temperature-wise, we're fine on. It's going to make a lap, but it's barely clinging on to... So, the Covet... The Covet and the Moonhawk were in much better conditions by the end of their first lap, but they had one big hit. For each of them, sort of one big hit took out drive, which is quite significant. This is in a terrible state after one lap. Absolutely terrible state, but it is managing to drag itself along. It is a little bit like a dog with worms at the moment, I'm not going to lie. It's found a spot on the carpet it likes, but it is still going. One of these speed bumps is going to take a front wheel off, and that is going to be game over. It's still got steering. So as I said, I'm not allowed to grab reverse to get around corners if the car's genuinely not getting steering. We've still got more than enough steering. It does bounce around randomly on the landings. I think I've got to hit that. Oh, that might be a front wheel gone. Yeah, that's it. That's it, gone. It actually goes... It doesn't go as far as the Moonhawk. It's the same jump that killed it. That jump's nasty. That jump is really nasty. So it collapsed the rear suspension completely. The rear left's completely gone. The rear right's pretty busted. And then the front left wheel came off. So the left-hand side of that car did not fare very well whatsoever. Yeah, that's more like it. That's more like the condition you want your driven till destruction cars to end up in. It was admittedly only a lap and a little bit, but that did some serious damage to the Chariot. Now, for our more basic vehicles, this has been an incredibly destructive circuit. I'm maybe not massively surprised on that one. There's lots of sort of little bump. It's the little bumps and ruts and jumps and so on. So what about a vehicle that is traditionally very strong for these? This is the just basic D-Series. I forgot for a second that I was with a manual and I've slightly messed the gearbox up, but that's unlikely to be a big problem, I hope. So there, this truck is pretty strong, really. It's going to take a lot more of a beating than the vehicles that have gone around so far. It's vehicles like this that are, I say in some ways, a real test for one of these sort of destruction circuits. Because the goal of one of these circuits is to have a track destructive enough to take out something like this, while being survivable for at least a time by normal cars. Now, the Covet, the Moonhawk, and the Chariot didn't survive amazingly long, but all of those vehicles, none of those vehicles are particularly great when it comes to destruction circuits. Surviving a lap and a bit is not uncommon for cars like that, on whichever circuit we have used over the years. For a vehicle like this, you know, this in theory can survive many laps around here. Now, sometimes, yeah, one unlucky hit is all it takes to knock a vehicle out. But this should take a hell of a lot more of punishment. In theory, I say in theory for a good destruction track though, this should still be enough to slowly break it over time. We will have to wait and see. It's surviving its first lap very, very well. Things that are likely to kill a D-Series. Drive shaft is possible. as this is a rear-wheel drive spec, I believe. So yeah, drive shaft is possible, but this is a lot tougher. It's a lot tougher than you get from the Moonhawk or from any of the muscle cars. Oh, so yeah, drive shaft is possible. Most likely is steering, I would say. Damage to the wheels, either a wheel coming off or something like that, is more likely way it's going to fail. It is possible to lose, like we could lose a rear wheel, that does happen, it's rarer. I mean, look, there's a million things that can kill a car in this game, of course, but we're going through the list of most likely causes of death. On this course, I would think steering. Overheating can, of course, happen as well. The oil pan, the like. This has got a better protected oil pan than the likes of the Moonhawk. I mean, this is more ground clearance, so when it hits the ground, it's not hitting the oil pan, essentially. Oh, this jump is a real concern. It's that landing on the front wheel that, at the moment, that's fine. That front wheel... trying to see whether it's done some damage. Trying to see whether it's running slightly lower on that front corner. I'm not sure. Ooh, it really does like hitting the front. The front right is definitely the wheel that gets most of the punishment around this circuit. Just with the way the jumps are set up, with the way the course is lined up, that is the way the vehicle tends to land heavily on that side. We can clear that. I'm not sure about the landings of some of these. Oh, okay, that's quite a flat landing. Flat landings better for spreading out damage away from a specific wheel. You've got to be aware, but flat damages can just sort of shock the whole chassis and snap a drive shaft. So, yeah. Sometimes the advantage of landing on the front is you save your drive shaft. You might bend a wheel, but you do keep your drive shaft alive. It's a difficult one. You often, although maybe not with a rear-wheel drive car, oh, we're going to go for a spin, don't drown it. I don't know how deep that water is there. Sometimes you actually want to land on the rear wheel. Certainly on the front-wheel drive car, if you can land on the back of the vehicle more, that's great. Because you land on the back wheels can basically be hanging off and it doesn't matter too much, although around here I don't think that would be the case. On some destruction circuits you'll get away with the rear wheels essentially hanging off. Here there's so many ruts and bumps. I actually think if you were, well, you kind of saw with the Cherry, if you are just dragging the back along the floor, it's going to keep getting caught on something and either shocking through the chassis or just twisting the car away from where you want it to be, making lining up for jumps awkward, and all of that sort of horrible stuff. The D-Series is, as expected, doing pretty well here. Oh, okay, we're going to land on the other side this time around. That's quite good. Spared the damage throughout the front of the truck. The whole thing is shaking and wobbling around as you do. Yeah, the front left is definitely poorly. It's definitely... Ooh, that was not quite going quick enough. Oh, the rear wheels come off. Oh, we might be screwed. Oh, no. Oh. The front was upset with that one. But it has... That is unfortunate. It wasn't quite go. So I was going a little bit... I was going a little bit slower. I was trying to find... a nicer line through that one, and we just went a tiny bit too slow over that jump and caught the rear. It's one of the dangers. It is one of the dangers that you can catch a bump awkwardly. But that is, if this was an all-wheel drive one, it would still be carrying on. It is, yeah, rear-wheel drive spec has slightly stopped that one going, but yeah, even a D-Series, it's tough. But even then, it can come undone with the bumps, with the logs. And finally, to finish off this video, there have been more cars because it's been quite short runs. The D-Series was very unlucky though with its run. We've got an I-Series. This though is all-wheel drive. We have an all-wheel drive. This is a 3-litre all-wheel drive I-Series. All-wheel drive is the preferred driveline, let's face it, for this. Rear-wheel drive vehicles, well, you lose a front wheel, you're going to struggle with steering, although it can carry on. You lose a rear wheel, and a lot of them won't drive unless they have a sporty diff. Front-wheel drive cars, you lose a front wheel, and good chance you've lost all steering and all drive. A few of them do have diffs that allow them to be one-wheel drive, but not very often. With all-wheel drive, you can get away with losing a wheel. Basically, front wheel, okay, you're still going to have problems with steering if you lose a front wheel, but you're going to have drive. regardless, and you lose a rear wheel and you will still have drive. I mean, in theory, I don't think I've ever managed to have it where I've lost a front wheel one side and a rear wheel the other. In theory, that would still work. I don't think it would last very long, although it does also depend on the diff and the drive setup. Sometimes if you lose a wheel, depending on how the all-wheel drive, how it's worked, sometimes you can still struggle with drive because it just wastes a lot of power. Oh, that's going to be a roll. And back onto your wheels we go. The oil pan has survived so far, which is something, at least. Okay, and give it a little bit of welly, because I want to clear those speed bumps. You don't want to be slow up that jump, because landing and hitting the speed bumps immediately is worse than the heavy landing for going a bit faster. I mean, none of this course is quick. I think of all of the destruction circuits I've come across, this is actually one of the slowest in terms of average speed. It's a lot fiddlier than most. There's only a couple of really big jumps. It's just lots of little constant hits. Oh, and that's horrible. I've not had a problem on that section before. Might just be the angle of approach. Now we've lost a drive shaft. We've lost front, so we now have just a rear-wheel drive vehicle. The oil pan's gone as well. I have a feeling we'll be dead before then. I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's going to be long gone by the time that drive shaft. Oh, by the time that oil pan becomes an issue. Oh, I just overdrove that corner. The vehicle's got more than enough drive and steering to carry on. That was just a driving error by me. Oh, we can pull the vehicle back up. It's not quite up enough. Come on. Come on. There we go. That's the ticket. And oh, now we're going to get beached up there because we actually need some momentum. I should have rolled it back. Didn't realise quite how nasty that hill was. So the slight downside is because use mouse for no drag to get the car out, and then I've got to pick up the controller very quickly to then take control of the car. But it's fine. We got over there. We cost ourselves a little bit of time. That's not the end of the world. And this jump here, ooh, it's such a horrible jump. It is such a horrible jump to. So I had a bit of. Oh no! Don't do that. I had managed to get a Windows box. I got a box on my computer had pinged up, and I was trying to get rid of it. I must have just clicked outside the game window at some point while I was no dragging, and yeah, I wanted to get rid of that because it was annoying and in the way. And then I got my car stuck while trying to fix things. It's been a little bit of a scruffy run for the I-Series. Oh, the diff in this is garbage. Right, let's go this way. Let's actually just get it up the hill so we can carry on. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a scruffy section right there. Ooh, something in the steering is unhappy. Oh, well, it's not in the steering. I can see it. We have a lot of positive camber on, you guessed it, the front right wheel. Yeah, one of those hits has done a number on that. It's to be expected. Ooh. But, oh, we've eaten a bit of the bodywork. It's sprung free. That is the important bit. I mean, so far this is doing better than the second best car we've had around here. It's the second best car we've had, and I don't know how long it is going to be for this world. It does like falling over. Oh, that's an extra roll for it. I was not expecting it to right itself that quickly. Oh, what is going on? Why is that struggling so much? Is it just the diff? Maybe. It's struggling partly, I think, with the diff. I think what's not helping is the fact that now that wheel is so far bent over, it's making it very. I'm having to fight to get the car to go in a straight line, and combine that with a slightly iffy differential, and it's not enjoying life. But it's going to keep on moving just about. I am aware the engine is starved of oil. There is not much I can do about it. Oh, God. Okay, that car does not like that section. That is the end of the I-Series. That is lost a rear drive shaft. Admittedly, I did grab the brakes. I didn't realize it was dead completely. It was almost like an instinct to try and get the car under control, and it could have maybe rolled a tiny bit further had I not grabbed the brakes. That speed bump didn't cause issues for the Covet or for anything else, but the I-Series hated it. I mean, 2 different laps it killed the drive shaft on there, front and then rear. That was poorly. Yeah, that was having a rough time around this circuit. This is a very destructive track. It's a very destructive track. I think for actual serious off-roaders, it's probably not so bad. It's a lot of sort of low-speed bumps that if you just clip them slightly wrong can do a huge amount of damage. It's good fun, though. It's good fun. It's been a while since I've seen a new circuit along these lines, and yeah, this one is definitely a challenging one. It does seem to, on the most part, kill cars before the oil pan or radiator be the things that kill them. Like it does do that. It just does kill a lot of drive shafts. Yeah, it's a fun little map, fun little destruction circuit. I'll put a link to it in the description if you want to have a go with it yourself. Maybe we'll see some more of this in the future. But that is going to be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.